for a moment here. These are 10 major commands that are really expounded on in the Catechism in the third pillar, Life in Christ, between Articles 2083 and 2557. It's a large portion of the Catechism that focuses on these laws. And the reason is because we know the story is the creed, getting into the story is the sacraments and the liturgy, and then the third pillar is what you live in the story. And so these commandments are real great guidelines for what you do and what you don't do, how you treat people, and so forth. So let's take a look at these 10 commandments, which are a part of 613 commandments in the Torah. In the Old Testament, there are 613 commandments altogether. These are the big daddies. These are the ones everybody knows about. And they're also listed the same in this Bible that we have as a Protestant Bible. But we categorize them differently than Protestants do. We use a system that goes way back, and the Protestants use a system that is very much based on numbering the verses. But you have to remember that the Bible wasn't written with verses. It wasn't written with verses at all. There was no such thing as Exodus chapter 20. It was just there. And so while we have the same commandments as Protestants, they're listed differently, and don't let anybody ever tell you that we have taken the graven image commandment out of there, because we haven't. It is part of the first commandment. That first commandment says in verse 3, "You shall have no other gods before me." Now, Protestants will then stop there, and then the second commandment is, "You shall not make for yourself a graven image." The Catholic Church, as well as the church throughout history, has combined those two, verses 3 and 4, into the first commandment. "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a graven image." This is a very, very important commandment. It comes number one. And you have to ask yourself, why do you think this commandment comes number one? Why is it number one that you shall have no other gods before me and you shall not make for yourself a graven image? Well, the Catechism tells us why it's number one. In Article 2085, it says that man's vocation is to make God manifest by acting in conformity with his creation in the image and likeness of God. And so our number one vocation as the people of God in America, in the world, is literally to manifest God to the world by acting in conformity with His creation, specifically the fact that we're created in the image and likeness of God. So what we do should image God to the world. And so that's why it's number one. If we don't settle this issue, first of all, in the Ten Commandments, that there is only one God, then what's going to happen is we're going to end up with multiple gods. And if we end up with multiple gods, like money, mammon, and we end up with the other gods of this world, of success and so forth, we're going to have a very complex manifestation to the world that cannot be understood. They're going to wonder, well, who are you serving? Are you serving God or are you serving money? So it's very important to establish this number one, that there is no other God than God. And our job is to manifest Him to the world. So let's not complicate the message that we're giving the world by serving other gods. Because if you're serving other gods, that message will be communicated to the world. Also listed there, they said that you shall not make for yourself a graven image. You shall not make for yourself a graven image. And we're going to talk about that here in just a moment. But I want to make another comment or two about this first command, "You shall have no other gods before me." In the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it mentions in Article 2116 something very important. Involved in this first commandment is something that I see more people breaking this commandment than almost any other, and they do it through recreation. Let me explain. Under the first commandment, "You shall have no other gods before me," there is a prohibition against divinization. There's a prohibition against the occult, horoscopes, and things